Welcome to Behind the Mic, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Joe Reed, and with me, contributor Michele Cobb is joining me. Hello, Michele.
Hi, how's it going, Joe?
Pretty good.
Welcome to 2026.
A new year. So what books do you have to start us off with?
Well, this week we're going to be talking about backstories, because I love a theme. We've got Expert Witness, The Weight of Our Testimony When Justice Hangs in the Balance by Anne Wolbert Burgess with Stephen Matthew Constantine, read by Gabra Zackman. Then we've got A Fine Line Between Clever and Stupid, the story of Spinal Tap.
What else could it be?
Exactly. Written and read by Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer.
Oh, the OGs.
And We Did Okay, Kid, a memoir written by Sir Anthony Hopkins, read by Kenneth Branagh with the author.
All right, let's go to our expert witness.
Yes, this was an earphones winner. And I have to say, if you are a true crime junkie like me, you are totally going to appreciate this title because it gives insights into how the use of expert witnesses actually developed, what is involved with being a witness, and examples from the author's role in high-profile cases, many of which you should recognize: Bill Cosby, Larry Nassar, and the Menendez brothers.
Yeah, she is really interesting. She wrote a book, A Killer by Design, that was also narrated by Gabra.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I guess it's fair to say that Burgess's claim to fame actually is her deep research and expertise into psychological responses to trauma.
Yes, her backstory, see, there's my theme, it's totally fascinating. She goes from being a trauma nurse working with victims of rape in the 1970s to profiling serial killers as part of the FBI behavioral unit, which I have studied extensively, and then to becoming an expert witness and advocate for victims. She really provides credibility to their journeys and specifically, of course, deals with people suffering from sexual abuse.
Exactly, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how this book is structured, because I was very interested. I listened into it. I didn't listen to the whole thing by any means, but it seems like there's an overview and then she talks about very specific cases.
Exactly, in the cases that I mentioned.
Mhm.
And she is really bringing this empathy and understanding. So some of it can feel a little uncomfortable because she is talking about how victims of trauma respond to that trauma. Sometimes that means they are committing their own crimes, and sometimes it means that they are failing to report abuse quickly, which can be very difficult to explain in a court case.
I really appreciated Gabra's narration of this very much. And I thought, for me, I am not a true crime person at all. But from the parts that I listened to, I felt that Gabra just approached the book with such clarity and at the same time restraint. She sort of let the tension in the book emerge with an understated kind of emotional control.
Exactly. It's that recognition of the narrator to provide the emotional distance that I often talk about with the books that involve blood and guts or trauma, since I love all of those. And I think she does that really well. And the writing of the book itself is very accessible. So whoever's narrating has to be able to feel that every man, even if you're not a true crime junkie, that you can listen to this. So I thought she does that really well. And she seems really interested in the topic.
Absolutely. She really does, doesn't she? I thought so too.
So maybe she's a true crime junkie like me, but I did feel she was speaking specifically to me as she narrated.
That's so interesting you said that, Michele. I thought the same thing at one point. I thought, boy, she is really liking this book.
Exactly.
Well, why don't we hear a little bit of it? You need to set this up for us.
This is Anne's connecting with an unusual constituency, and for me is an example of the level of detail that I thought was particularly strong in the book.
Okay. This is Expert Witness, written by Anne Wolbert Burgess, and we'll be hearing from Gabra Zackman, the narrator.
The upside of all this waiting around was that the prison guards tended to be just as bored as I was. They couldn't help but gravitate toward time-passing distractions. Maybe not at first, but as soon as I mentioned my research at the FBI and the types of cases in which I was testifying, the guards tended to perk up and start sharing stories of their own. Their insights were like cutting through a mile of red tape. They pulled back the curtain to share firsthand knowledge about prison behaviors, day-to-day dynamics, and the ever-shifting social structures taking place within their facilities. It was fascinating. And what it taught me was that even after an offender's been convicted of a crime and placed within the highly structured environment of a prison's reinforced walls, they still find ways to manifest their core behaviors. They still adhere to a continuity of self that prison can't easily erase. This was something I could use to my advantage, I realized. By tapping into the predictive aspect of an inmate's behavior, I could better unlock the secrets within their head to more wholly understand them.
Yeah, the performance is so grounded and attentive, I think.
Yes, that's a great word to say about it. Attentive.
Yeah, very much so. I think she did a great job, and I think that earphones is well deserved.
Totally.
All right, moving from one backstory to a slightly, well, at the same time, I mean, a very poignant one right now, a fine line between clever and stupid.
Yes, this was another earphones winner, and audiobook to me is the only way to experience this book that celebrates the history and the making of the movie This is Spinal Tap. Although I will say I know the print edition has pictures and things, so there's good reasons for both.
There is, but boy, I've been listening to this and it is hysterical.
Yes, and this unscripted mockumentary romp of, if you remember the movie,
Of course.
totally influenced so many of us, including myself, and frankly, the culture, because I feel like since then we've seen this style of movie and television show sort of all dating back to This is Spinal Tap in my mind. You know, The Office and other things
It
like that.
created it, exactly. It created the type.
And it was extremely bittersweet, I would say, to listen because,
Mhm.
of course, Rob Reiner passed away tragically very recently, but it was also a lovely way to celebrate his life and work, to hear him narrate so much of this and to be so joyful and to be clearly having a good time. So, this is the way I want to remember him, which made it especially wonderful to hear right now.
Yeah, as I was listening, I realized his directing career is actually bookended by both Spinal Taps.
That's true, yeah.
And I thought, this is a lovely postscript to that.
It is. And again, I'll go back to level of detail can be important because
Mhm.
there's so many tidbits in this book. I had no idea, and I hadn't thought about like how did they develop the film, but they actually filmed a 20-minute short in order to sell the film because what do you say to people?
No script.
Yeah, it's going to be a bunch of people ad-libbing about what it's like to be this rock band.
You know, the other thing that I'm really finding so interesting about the book is, aside from the fact that it's really funny, it's really kind of insightful into the way show business works and the way, the different stages of production
Yes.
also unfolded. You get that too.
Yeah, and it's so fun to hear Rob Reiner. He does that emphatic thing with his voice that people might think of as his acting work with Meathead, and he's really narrating the majority of this. The others are dropping in for commentary.
But I love that. I love the commentary when they drop
The
in.
commentary was great. And what was nice was also to hear from Jamie Lee Curtis and musician Amy Mann and Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash, and to have Rob kind of holding that all together for us and going on the journey with us was, again, really fun. I hate to keep bringing up that word, but that's how I felt about the
But it
title.
is fun. I'm having a really good time, and I have, there's a line behind me of people who want to listen next.
Well, here's the important tip, right? Don't stop listening when you get to the end credits because there's a full companion piece called Smell the Book. And this is where the actors in character as the band are being interviewed by Rob Reiner as the documentary director, talking about their background and experiences. And I could almost feel them coming up with the backstories as they were speaking, which was really amazing. And I actually wondered, did they record this and then create the text for the print book from it because it was an ad lib situation?
That would be in keeping.
Yeah, it would be in keeping.
Yeah.
Even if they didn't do it that way, in my mind, as I listened, that's how it was developed.
Excellent. So what little excerpt do we have?
This is Rob Reiner telling us how the band germinated from an ABC TV special. No idea.
I had no idea either. This is a great excerpt. Everybody's going to love it. Okay. This is a fine line between clever and stupid. It's the story of Spinal Tap. It's written and read by Rob Reiner, Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer. And we're going to be listening to Rob Reiner.
There was also a takeoff of the Midnight Special, a late-night NBC music show that featured the big rock stars of the day. In our parody, the show was emceed by the radio DJ Wolfman Jack, me again in a pompadour and a beard, who introduced the next act in his inimitable, growling, howling Wolfman way. Are you ready to rock and roll? Now, from England, have Moise. You gonna love 'em to death. Spinal Tap. Ooh! And for the first time, appearing as Spinal Tap were Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, and Harry Shearer in wigs and rock and roll makeup, performing in a music video for a song called Rock and Roll Nightmare, which featured the lyrics such as, "When the rock and roll nightmare comes, the devil's gonna make me eat my drums." Me and my writing partner Phil Mishkin had come up with the idea for the TV show. To help with the script, we brought in Harry, Chris, Martin Mull, Billy Crystal, and a writing partner of Chris's, Tom Leopold. To help with the Spinal Tap sequence, Chris enlisted Michael, with whom he'd been writing and playing music since their college days. When Spinal Tap first appeared, the band members didn't have names yet. Harry, a fine bass player, didn't even play on the actual track. Chris and Michael, who wrote the song, recorded it in a studio with Leland Sklar, the brilliant L.A. session bassist, renowned for backing up such greats as Carole King, James Taylor, Jackson Browne, and Linda Ronstadt. The legendary rock drummer Russ Kunkel was also recruited for the video, along with singer-songwriter Loudon Wainwright III, who mimed playing the keyboards. Both Russ and Loudon wore afro wigs. I can't remember why, but I can't say it made them more attractive. The late 70s was a time when rock and roll was rife with pretension. Punk had hit the scene. But over-the-top dinosaur acts were still very much out there, setting off pyrotechnics, flying inflatable pigs over the audience, and wearing tight spandex outfits that highlighted what could only be described, as Nigel Tufnell might say, as armadillos in their trousers.
Okay, Rob Reiner is Wolfman Jack.
Yes.
The way the band came together is so funny. And then they were having such a good time. They said, well, why not continue with this? And you mentioned how happy Reiner sounds. He just sounds so excited and still amazed by it all.
Yes. And I admit I hadn't seen the movie. So the new Spinal Tap movie, which this is all
I haven't either.
It's a book, it's the second movie, all of that. So I'm sort of holding watching the movie as the next step on my celebration of Rob Reiner's life.
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch the first one again first because I haven't seen it in a bit. And that's a movie that's so much fun to go back to.
I know, although I remember before I saw it, having someone explain the movie to you, it's not funny. You have to experience it.
Oh, completely. Completely. I absolutely agree. All right. And where are we going to now?
Okay, so now we're going to Sir Anthony Hopkins. And it was an interesting choice, I thought, because with celebrity biographies, we often hear the author read the introduction and then have someone else take over. But here, I liked the choice a lot better. So Kenneth Branagh reads the main text, And then Sir Anthony Hopkins joins at the very end in the appendix. He tells a lovely story, and then he reads a collection of poems and soliloquies.
Which is that sounds wonderful. I'm listening to this too. I haven't gotten to the end at all yet, and I'm finding it just lovely.
Yes, and it's a much smoother transition to switch to Sir Anthony at the end, and not to be the entire time thinking, oh, that's not quite Tony, if I can call him that.
I find that the book is so insightful, and its thoughtfulness is so striking.
Yes,
And it's such an honest book, it seems to me.
it is, because actors often tell their origin stories or their backstory, if we're keeping on theme here. So as often we get with an actor's origin story, you've got those humble beginnings, this time in Wales. Then Anthony Hopkins moved to work under Olivier at the National Theatre. And then, of course, he goes on to win the Oscar for Silence of the Lambs. And I most enjoyed the tidbits where he's talking about his approach to acting and giving the backstory on that. So the germination of how he played Hannibal Lecter was actually born in his audition as a very young man to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, something you just wouldn't know. And it was little things like that that were so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all the emotional stuff that really got me. So he talks at the beginning about his struggles in school and eventually discovering the stage. And it is so moving. And we've got this fantastic, well-known actor finding all the emotion of it. And we're hearing him talk about Sir Anthony's personal life, his struggles with alcohol, how he's very much a loner, and how that has impacted his relationships with his wives and his daughter, and his internal journey. So we're getting all of these kind of deep things and in beautiful narration.
Yeah, I thought I'm captivated by it. I thought Branagh's reading it's just so spot on.
Well, you
And
probably haven't gotten to hear him do Katharine Hepburn, among
no,
others.
I have
And
not,
it's so,
and I'm waiting.
oh, it's delicious. It's
I
absolutely
can't wait.
delicious. Yeah.
Both in the writing and in the narration, this real vulnerability,
Yes.
I think, is being shown. Not over the top, not, oh, my sorrowful, sorrowful life. No, it's not that at all, but it is a vulnerability, and I really appreciate how fine a line he's walking.
Yes, I think you nailed it in the use of the word vulnerability.
Yeah. It's really a wonderful book, and I'm sure everybody is just going to love it. So let's hear a little. Are we going to hear Katharine Hepburn?
I'll never tell.
Okay.
No. The scene, so to speak, and the book title are set with this clip.
Oh, okay. This is We Did Okay, Kid, a memoir written by Sir Anthony Hopkins, and it's read by Kenneth Branagh.
One grey Sunday morning in 1941, in the sand dunes of Aberavon Beach, a friend of my father's, Cliff Mathers, handed me a cough lozenge. In those days, the war years, we saw few, if any, sweets or candies. Those were the years of rationing. Fumbling, I dropped the sweet in the sand, and I started to blubber. My father and Cliff laughed. I was given a second sweet. My father stooped down to reassure me. No more tears. Cliff snapped the photo. One of my earliest memories. I was 3. Now, at the age of 87, I occasionally glance at that photo and am prompted to say to that confused little boy, "We did okay, kid." Like most children, I was anxious and confused, but that's part of growing up, being too young to comprehend any meaning in existence. That strange feeling of being lost, not able to cope, has stayed with me through the many years of my life. I am surprised, or is the word bemused? Bewildered, yes, bewildered, that I'm still here.
You know, Michelle, even hearing that again, I just find it so lovely when he looks at that picture and says, "We did okay, kid."
Yes.
So lovely. I find that really moving.
Me too. A lot of this was moving
Yeah.
in a way that I hadn't anticipated, because his acting is often so pulled back, and I've certainly seen interviews with him, and he does kind of put on that introvert sort of lone wolf persona. And beyond that, we don't get to see that, through a talk show, but we do get to hear it through his words.
Yeah, I agree. You had a good week.
I really did.
You had a really good week. Let me tell you, congratulations. These
I
are
know.
3 fine, fine books.
A great way to kick off the new year.
Great way to kick off the new year. Even though January has passed, to me, it's New Year till around March. I don't know about you.
Okay, I'll take that.
Okay. And I will talk to you next month, Michele. Thank you so much.
Sounds great. Bye.
You've been listening to Behind the Mic by Kirkus Reviews. Remember, Behind the Mic now drops on Thursdays, but if you follow us, we'll simply appear in your feed. And while you're at it, follow Fully Booked by Kirkus Reviews. Fully Booked is the podcast for book lovers. Every Tuesday, Kirkus editors and host Megan Labrise bring you author interviews, industry insights, and recommendations from the bestseller list. Find your next great book on Fully Booked by Kirkus Reviews. Follow Fully Booked and Behind the Mic on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcasts. And stop by kirkusreviews.com to check out reviews for both print and audiobooks. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart. Michele Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Ellen Minskoff, Alex Ritchie, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dell is our editor, with assistance from Alicia Langerman. Tom Beard's the executive producer. The music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads 4-Way. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.